These are the 9 rules of positional play that you gotta know to cross 1500 for good. I'm Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, let's rock and roll. In the current position, it is white to play, and most players would simply castle, because they don't know the main weakness in chess. And by the way, before the game starts, you can ask your opponent, do you know the main chess weakness? And your opponent will be like, not sure, I don't know. And then you say, it's you, just to gain some psychological advantage. Of course, I'm kidding, but in reality, there is the biggest chess weakness, and it is this pawn on f7. Think about it. There are typically just 3 pawns around your opponent's king. And if we compare these two, the pawn on e7 is typically guarded by 3 pawns of black, in this case also by the knight, while the pawn on f7 is only guarded by the king himself, and that is why it is the weakest. It is also a doorway to the king's residence. That's why in this position white can play pawn to e5, break open the center, and then sacrifice the bishop on f7. This may seem like sudden tactics, but think of scholar's mate, right liver attack, and whatnot. Lots of opening tactics which quickly wins games are exactly those sacrifices on f7. Here it's white to move as well. How would you play here as white? 92% of players failed to find the right move, and you can see how easily you can bypass them. By the way, probably the greatest master of attack, Mikhail, said that as long as his opponent's king is in the middle of the board, Tal always looked at these 2 squares, f7 and e6, and looked for ways to attack or to sacrifice something there. And here you can push the pawn forward to e6, deflecting this pawn from f7, and then continuing with this attack, and on the next move you can sacrifice whatever on g6 and finish the game quickly. Now we're moving on to the second principle: trade off your opponent's fianchettoed bishop, especially the one covering his king. In this position it was black to play, and we see that there is an opportunity for white to trade off this bishop. However, it was black to move, and the correct move for black would be to avoid this exchange. How could black do this? Well, simply by retreating the bishop back, and the position remains to be very complex. However, in the actual game, black just played the most straightforward idea. They noticed these opposite side castles, decided to start the pawn storm of their own. However, there is this critical downside. It allows white to actually trade off this dark squared bishop, who is the main defender of black's king. Just notice that after this trade, all these dark squares around the king instantly become vulnerable, and white can easily attack them and occupy them. Right now, the queen is already very close to the king. White would wish to capture this pawn. They can't do it right now because the knight is guarding it, so they played knight to d5, forcing the trade of knights, and then white wins pretty easily here, and then it comes with a checkmate. By the way, notice that even at this point, if black had that dark square bishop on g7, let me just magically do it, the game would be far from over, and there would be no way for white to continue the attack. But without that bishop, it's very easy. Alright, we're moving to the next one. In this position, white played pawn to c3, attacking this knight. And how would you play here as black? This position clearly illustrates the difference between beginners and advanced players. And by looking at how advanced players think, you can easily improve your chess. Alright, so first off, what should we do about this knight? The first idea is try to avoid moving back. Like, you should refuse to back down. In chess, it's always better to move forward than to move back. And you should only retreat if there is nothing better at all. No other options are just available. Okay. Therefore, knight takes b3 would already be a better option, because you refuse to back down. But on top of that, there is also one extra idea. You can also counterattack. And strong players, they have this motto. They always look at their opponent's half of the board and they aim to come forward to attack and counterattack. Right here, is there any way for black to counterattack? If you ask yourself that question, you also find the move pawn to a4. He attacked your knight, you attack his bishop. That's pretty interesting. And therefore, that's another move for black to consider. You don't even waste time defending at all. You just counterattack. If white captures, you capture the bishop as well, and now you also keep putting pressure right here. Of course, white can also take on e5 and hit this knight on f6. How would you play here? Again, for beginners, their initial impulse whenever their piece is attacked is just to move it away. But for you, you know now that you need to focus your attention on opponent's half of the board and ask yourself, how can I go forward? How can I attack? How can I counterattack? With that in mind, you can find the move rook takes a2, which is a beautiful idea. You attack the rook, and from there, we're going to attack everything. And if white trades, now this pawn made quite an impressive home run, and you're going to promote a new queen and win. Next up, there is a chess vaccine we all need to have. In this position, black played rook to e8. And what should you do now? We all need that vaccine against instant moves. In positions like that, very often players play something like this or like this, whatever they have in mind. And they forgot to ask themselves, what's the idea of my opponent's last move? What is he going to do next? Because if you ask yourself that question, you'd clearly notice that putting the rook right here to the e-file can possibly have only one potential purpose, is to play pawn to e5, attack your bishop, and then, after the bishop moves somewhere, doesn't even matter, black will keep attacking and win either a bishop or a knight, let's say like this, and black achieves a winning position. And if white asked himself that right question, it was so easy to prevent this blunder. Just get the bishop out of the way or get the knight out of danger, and a pony saved is pony earned. This brings us to the next reason of quick disasters. In this position, it was black to play, and a strong grandmaster lost this game in only 10 moves. Here, after black attacked the rook and then traded the bishop, he realized that now white is going to play knight to b5 with this fork, and he played pawn to a6 trying to stop it, but white played knight to b5 anyway. Quite an unpleasant surprise. It turns out that even though black can capture the knight, and he did, white didn't take this pawn right away with a check. This looks tempting, but from here black could cover. White first traded off this knight, and now bishop takes b5 is virtually a killing move. Since the rook controls the d-file, the only move left for black is knight to d7, and it covers the king temporarily, but after rook captures, there are all sorts of threats in the next move. Rook takes b7, discover, check, rook to d6, even checkmate, and white is clearly winning. To sum up, the principle is castle early within the first 10 moves. And of course, people don't castle because they are unaware of the concept. They know that they should. They don't castle because they're distracted by other things. Work, studying, and other life problems, and everything else that distracts us from chess. Moving on to the next one, the classical principle of the Igor Nation: to take is a mistake. And I know what you guys are gonna write in comments. I recently won the jackpot in the lottery, but thanks to Igor, I didn't take it because to take is a mistake. So let me explain. In this situation, it is white to play, and white can potentially trade these pawns and then capture the queen on d8. Should you do it or not? In this case, an exchange of queens would force black to move the king to this dangerous spot, and potentially in the future, as you bring the rook right here, you're gonna attack and you only worsen black's position. Therefore, you definitely should take. Compare it to this example. Here it is black to move. And initially it looks almost identical. Black can potentially trade pawns and then trade queens on d1. Should you take there or not? In this case, this is a classical illustration of to take is a mistake. If black captures the queen on d1, this only helps white to activate his rook, and this is so common. Most of the time, when you force those unmotivated exchanges, you help your opponent to activate his pieces. In this case, the rook gets this open file, and it's really cool for white. Now this knight is hanging, and after it moves somewhere, white can continue with knight to d5, and now he already gains some advantage. And moreover, if black is careless and tries to trade off the bishop, he can actually be checkmated right on the next move by that exact rook that we helped white to activate. And now rook to d8 comes with a checkmate. Next up is probably the most common chess question: is 2 a.m. the best time to keep playing bullet? Just kidding. What to do after an opening? Sometimes you've developed your pieces, you castled, but you're not sure what to do next. And here's the tip: you gotta open up the position, because you wish to attack and move your pieces forward, but very often the position is cluttered with pawns, and you gotta get rid of them, you gotta clear those paths for your pieces to come forward. Sometimes you can simply push a pawn forward, trade it, and that enables your pieces to attack after that. And the second solution is to sacrifice a piece against your opponent's pawns to open up the position that way. In this case, white can sacrifice a bishop to open up the king, and although it's very far from being totally winning for white, you enable it for your other pieces later to keep coming forward and developing your attack. Now from here, the knight is putting some pressure down here. Let's say black trades it off, and on the next turn, you're already winning. After whatever black does, you would wish to play queen h7, but now the black knight covers it. Therefore, we distract it with our knight, and then after whatever black does, we can force this checkmate. Of course, black could have defended better, but overall, the idea is still the same. You want to open up the position, and that enables your pieces to start coming forward onto opponent's side of the board and to begin your attack. In this position, it was white to move. And tell me what you think about this move, queen takes h6. It does not lose the queen because the pawn is pinned. And initially it looks like white is just winning on the spot because of numerous checkmating threats. Which brings us to the next rule. If you found a brilliant move, think twice. Very often we blunder because we get excited about a winning move that we found, and right after that, there follows a blunder, because we didn't think it through and we didn't think about aggressive replies of our opponent. Therefore, the right question to ask yourself is, which aggressive moves can my opponent play in reply? Here he's got queen takes g3, which refutes the idea. It eliminates the rook, which used to pin this pawn, and now he's free to capture the queen, ending up with material advantage. In this position, black has just moved the pawn to g6, attacking your queen, and how would he play here? An almost instant reaction would be to move the queen forward, trying to force this checkmate on g7. And while it looks very lucrative for white at first, it is black to play now. And black has only one move to stop this, but it's enough, pawn to f6. Now the diagonal is blocked, and after an exchange, white's attack is over, black is doing perfectly fine. If white captures, black just recaptures, and he's doing well. Instead, you gotta use that CCTV principle. You should be on the lookout for those aggressive opportunities, checks, captures, threats. These moves are the most dangerous, the most aggressive, and they leave your opponent with no free time to do anything, to play f6 or anything else, but only to be reactive and to react to your moves. Still, black has no time and no other options but to move the king, and that allows you to develop your attack easily, and also it simplifies your calculation. Also, you guys have asked me to record myself playing and demonstrating exactly how I implement all these rules in my own games, and I did it, and I included that together with everything else that you need to bring your chess to a level of 2000 in the special bundle called Boost Your ELO to 2000. I'll drop it down below if you're interested, and if not, just let me know if you have any other questions, and I'll talk to you soon.